Good evening. My name is Ray Dwyer, and this is Dr. Joe Dispenza's Meditation Book Discussion Group. Tonight, we're talking about Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Chapter 5, Survival versus Creation. For the last few weeks, we talked about Chapter 2, that is the environment. Chapter 3, that is body survival. Chapter 4, that's overcoming time. And tonight we're talking, the chapter is survival versus creation, which for all practical purposes is a summation of what we've read and a looking forward to what we will be talking about in the next couple bunch of weeks. Let me begin. I'm on page 97. Why is it so hard to live in these creative moments? If we focus on an unwanted past or a dreaded future, that means that we live mostly in stress, in survival mode. Whether we're obsessing over our health, paying the mortgage, need for shelter, not having enough time, familiar, that's all different elements of survival. And you're not present in the now if your energy is dealing in that. Then in my first book, I went into great detail about the difference between living in creation versus living in survival. If you're a heady type of person that like a challenging read, this book is Dr. Joe's real first book. This is what he got after he's gotten multiple masters in science. Did you know he's not just a chiropractor? He's got multiple. He is a true scientist and tech head. And this is what he put together when his head was so full of what he was learning that is now in all his books. There's no meditations in this. There's no mysticism in this. This is the science of the mind. That's what it says here. The science of changing your mind. It is probably one of the hardest, most challenging books for me to read. I would read 2 or 3 pages and go, what did he say? It took me in places in my reading that I've never gone to. So I'm just telling you ahead of time, if you're a serious reader, this might be for you. Page 98. We humans have the same system in place. When we perceive danger, our sympathetic nervous system is turned on. Energy is mobilized, and so on, in much the same way as the deer who's chased by wolves. During early human history, this wonderful adaptive response helped us confront threats from predators and other risks to our survival. Those animal qualities served us well for our evolution as a species. One of the first things I had to learn that was hard for me to swallow is that this painful, over secure, self survival mindset that I was in was not a bad thing. It got there through reasonable history, and it was a skill that I developed hyperly. Hyperly, is that a real word? In an intense sense for the purpose of helping me survive. I'll tell you the story. I was at the VA medical center, and and the doctor I was talking to told his nurse that PTSD class is starting right after this. So I want you to walk him there. Make sure he gets in the door. Because I don't know. He said, nurse. I mean, this is a tough looking nurse. Some nurses are nice little ladies, or no, this woman was serious business. And so she led me. She said, we're going there. That was my doctor, my boss. He said, for me to take you there, we're going. I said, oh, It was kind of funny at the time. You'd have to have seen it. So anyway, so we go in there and there's this long just banquet table type, and they're all together, and so there's about 14 of us veterans in here, and we're all in it because we're all PTSD nuts. And so I was sitting at one end of the table, and directly across from me was a real combat Marine. I don't mean someone who was in the back line. I mean, this guy was a frontline hardcore Marine, and he's been doing it for 12 years, maybe 15 years. He had, he was, well, anyway, he was a serious, scary man to sit there. And I'm sensitive enough to know danger when I see it. And this guy looks at you, and all I want to do is leave. Just like, I don't want to be in his space. And so it's just like, hello, and we said hello, one of these types of things. So the doctor comes in, a tall lady, and she comes in, she gets in, and we all get questions. Thank you for coming. The first thing I want to do is to tell you I want you to thank yourselves and thank the guy across the table for your PTSD. Here we are, we're in it because PTSD has been ruining our life for me for 40 years. And these are all got people, all the whole room full of people their lives are wrecked because they can't control the exaggerated reaction that you get when you've been taught what we've been taught. And he's just like, and then everybody starts yelling and talking and stuff like this. And she just, now settle down. And I'm looking at the Marine across me, and we're both already pissed off. It's like, all I could think of was, do we leave right now or do I give her 5 more minutes? Just like, I don't want to hear this. She says, let me explain. She says, what PTSD is. PTSD is a natural function of the human being to help him survive. What it does in you, that PTSD is what drives you harder than the guy who does not have it. It makes you run faster, jump higher, move first, fight harder. It blinds you from fear and makes you do things that are unimaginable in your normal state. Just by the fact that you have it may be the reason why you can sit here today. So I want to thank each one of you for your massive, powerful PTSD that helped you get through what you got through to be here today. It's not the having PTSD that is the problem. And we looked at it like, really? We just, our lives are a mess. That's why we're just, no. It's the not knowing how to turn it off. That's the problem. Congratulations for having it. Now let's learn how to turn it off. Talking about a life-changing 15 minutes. Oh my God. And that was the first 15 minutes of the talk. I haven't been the same since. I've quoted that first 15 minutes so many times. It's not about having it. It's about not knowing how to turn it off. Think about all your overreactions. Your reaction was justified. Your anger was justified. Your fight or flight was justified. Have you learned how to turn it off? I didn't. I just never crossed my mind. How do I turn this nightmare off? I started learning in Dr. Joe's work. That is part of your survival versus creation. This wonderful adaptive response helps us confront threats. Yeah. When the deer, in the paragraphs before this, it talks about a deer being chased by wolves. And if the deer managed to run hard enough, dodge, and outrun the wolves, he survives. And within a half an hour, He's back with his pack, eating grass, acting like, well, that was close, but I'm good. That is not the human mind. The human mind will remember that for the rest of our lives and will relive it a million times. Other animals don't do that. They recognize that was dangerous. They recognize it was close. Then they look around and go, okay, I'm good. And it just, all that adrenaline, all that venom in them process through and goes away, and they're healthy and happy, and their stress factors go down so they can absorb nutrition, so their body starts making healthy cells again. We get stressed out and we beat ourselves up for the next 6 months or for the rest of our life. That is part of the work that Dr. Joe teaches. And that's part of that introduction to that is what tonight's about. You can turn on that response in anticipation of some future event. We can relive that PTSD, just those trauma events, those trauma adrenaline, just by thinking it might happen again. A deer doesn't do that until he is confronted with the threat. Because the world is full of threats. I mean, there's places in this world that are just hell on earth. But is it in your neighborhood? Most of us, thankfully, not. At least hopefully. On the other hand, I'm on page 99, I believe it is. 99, yeah. On the other hand, as far as we can tell, animals don't have the ability to turn on stress response so frequently and so easily that they can't turn it off. That deer is happy to go back to grazing, isn't consumed. This kind of repetitive stress is harmful to us because no organism was designed with a mechanism to deal with negative effects in the body when the stress response is turned on with great frequency for a long duration. No animal on this planet lives in 24-hour stress. They just wear out, and we forget 24 hours. We live in stress 24 hours, 7 days a week, and never let it go. And that is not the reality of your life. That is the reality of your mind. How do you make that transition? That's why the name of the book, Breaking the Habit. When you think about it, the real difference between animals and ourselves is that although we both experience stress, humans re-experience it, and here's a good one, and pre-experience. We get stressed out thinking about getting stressed out. Just humans are crazy. When you compare it, when you really think, get remote from the human experience, that's kind of a wacky thing to do. They get just as scared and as stressed out of something that they think might happen, than, as if it already happened. No animal on this planet does that.
It's true.
The reason is clear. The domino effect from the cascade of hormones and other chemicals we release in response to stress can dysregulate some of our genes, and that may create disease. In other words, repeated stress pushes the genetic button that comes to us to begin toward our genetic destiny. One of the words that you'll hear all year with me is epigenetics. Epigenetics means above genetic expression. Who here has not heard that stress kills, or at least makes you sick? What is the mechanism of that? Stress collapses your energy field. It lowers the frequency and collapses its energy. That energy field is this light that is that white light coming down. You remember that? and it lowers the frequency and the energy of that. The environment of your genes adjusts their protein expressions according to that lower energy. Your cell repair is diminished. Your nutrient absorption, you can eat fine organic food, your body won't absorb it except maybe the macros of your protein and calories, but all the nutrients that make you healthy that you paid extra for the quality food, it simply doesn't absorb it. You start creating a depressive attitude, and depressed attitudes create a depressed life, which further create, and the hole gets deeper. And we did it pre-anticipating a bad event. Wow. From a psychological perspective, overproduction of stress hormones create. You do that again, you're out.
Yeah.
Goodbye. From a psychological perspective, overproduction of stress hormones create the human emotion of anger, fear, envy, all those things that we all familiar with. And those are limiting things to your health, not figuratively, literally. Stress will create an environment of the body which weakens the immune system of your body, and you're more prone to be sick. That's not woo-woo. That's scientific, biological, medical fact. What's fun about that statement, what if you flip it? What do you mean, right? Instead of being low energy of stress, what would happen if you could flip that equation? What if you got really happy? I don't mean for 5 minutes. I mean, got goofy happy for an hour a day and lit yourself up with a radiant light. You know, my white light thing, I keep going back to my white light. And you drive that bright, high energy love and joy into you so that your body feels electrified. What happens then? Well, just the opposite. You have changed the environment your DNA has. You haven't changed your DNA. You change the environment of the DNA. Your DNA releases new proteins that say, hey, we're healthy and happy. We don't need our little orange guys out here keeping us safe. So let's bring those orange guys in. Remember my story about the orange guys? Now let's bring those guys in and help and get them assigned to making us healthy. So higher energy energizes our immune system, opens the absorption of our intestinal tract to get the most subtle energy nutrients from our foods we eat, and we eat better, live better, smile more, and get healthier in our eyes and our complexion. It's funny, the doctors will tell you stress kills, but you'll be hard put to find a single doctor saying that happiness heals. I don't understand that. If they would start telling people, just get happy and you'll be healthier. Here's your prescription, 1 hour of happiness a day, and see if you can expand on that. You'd be hard put to get a doctor to do that. Negativity runs so high because we are either living in anticipation of stress or in the memory of it. When our stress response is triggered, we focus on the three things. Oh, it might happen, it might happen, it might happen. And we start reflecting, is it safe for the body, the environment, time, and all three of the lower energies turn on in the lowest way. As a result, we begin to define ourself with the confines of the physical realm, and we become less spiritual, less conscious, less aware, and less mindful. That is your symptom of your diagnosis. If you want to know how you're doing, stand in front of a mirror of your mind and think, how am I feeling? Am I thinking in my physical self? Am I less conscious of my awareness of space? Am I just mindful in general or just academic and pushing today? And we remember who we are based on primarily what we know and things we do. Well, that's where we start. That's where most of us start. Don't beat yourself up over it. I can tell you that's where I started. Okay, so you stand in front of the mirror of your mind and say, okay, I am starting with an awareness of pretty low self-awareness of myself, and my energy is low, and I'm living in survival mind. Fine. That really is a good step because once you name it, you can do something about it. It's when this stuff is hiding behind your name, behind your mind, and is layered under pain and under illusions and stuff like that, where you can't really name what you're wrestling with. Who the who we are is a consciousness connected to a quantum field of intelligence. Let me say that again. This is Dr. Joe writing in a book that's 20 years old. Who we are is a consciousness connected to a quantum field of intelligence. What you are, I dare to say, is even more important to who you are. And let me tell you why. Because if the what you are is this guy on the previous page who is struggling in his body, environment, and time, if that is what you are, then when I tell you who you are is an eternal consciousness, you're going to look at me like, so? What's that doing for me? Right? So let's change what you are. What you are is I am. What I am is an energy. That energy being is an electric energy being. A luminous, I'm turning on, the idea is flowing through me and I'm already turning. I'm telling you what, I'm not asking you what you are. I am telling you what you are. You are an energy being, an electrical energy being, a luminous electrical energy, a divinely created electrical energy being of eternal life and glory, and heir to the infinite potential that is yours to claim. That is what you are. Now, who you are is an eternal connection, consciousness connected to the eternal being. Who you are is a child of the divine. Who you are is a point of divine expression. Now, knowing what you are, the who makes more sense. It doesn't make sense to say I'm a divine expression when I look at my body and know that I've got a short more time and my body from dust to dust I return. Does it really processes in your mind if you're holding on to that survival mind? It didn't to me. And it took me months of rehearsing this before I started going, oh. So I'm just kind of trying to give you a head start on your, oh, what you are matters in your head so that you can process who you are. If you thought what you are as a pauper, would you receive a gift from someone who said he was a prince? You would probably look at him like he's a con and you just leave. When a royal gift was trying to be given to you, you wouldn't receive it because you were so sure you were a pauper. It's something like that. You go before the throne not feeling rich. You go before the throne with empty hands as if you were a pauper, so that you can receive who you really are, a divinely created being. Everything follows that little lesson on the page of 102. Who we are is a conscious connection to a quantum field of intelligence. What we are is the being that is in harmony with that statement. We are the consciousness connected to that intelligence. That is what we are. Then what is this? This is the vehicle of our expression. This is real. You want to test it? Go beat your head on the wall. See what you think. I'm here already. It's okay. So this is real, but what you are is the consciousness driving this body. This is your life expression. And this will go away. You don't. You are an eternal life expression of this infinite field of consciousness that sentence said. This is one of the key statements in this chapter. It's to understand that statement, you have to adjust your what, or otherwise you won't receive the who. If we fancy ourselves solely physical beings, we limit ourselves to perceiving only with our physical senses. That's the hook. If we think we're physical, then what we can receive are physical things. It only makes sense. The more we use our senses to define our reality, the more we allow our senses. If our senses define our reality, the only thing I can receive in this physical self is physical stuff. That's not what this book's about. If the quantum model of reality ultimately defines everything as energy, why do we experience ourselves more physically being than as an energy being? We could say that the survival-oriented emotions are lower frequencies of the lower energy. They vibrate at lower wavelengths. The body quite literally becomes composed of more mass. We quite literally become identified with the body. That's kind of the normal Western life. There's exceptions, but that's kind of what our Western society teaches. So it makes sense that if we inhabit our more primitive survival emotions and begin to break our addictions to them, our energy will be higher in frequency and less likely to root us to the body. That's the goal. Don't expect this. What am I doing trying to limit you? Go for it. Jump in and go all deep in. Jump in the deep end of the pool and get it all at once. Me, I went in just screaming and crying. And one hand, I was holding on to my survival, and the other hand, I was trying to become something supernatural. Some of you might just said, "Screw that! I'll just jump in the deep end of the pool," and you're there. I've met people who did that. They just kind of like, "Oh, this makes sense," and the next day they were different. Like, what pill did you take? How did you do that? I just did what he said. I'm sorry, my programming was too deep. I couldn't just do what he said. I really have met people who just kind of like, oh, this makes sense, and away they went. Like, okay, good for you. As our emotions become more elevated, we will naturally ascend to higher levels of consciousness, closer to source, and feel more connected to the universal intelligence. As we tune in to that intelligence, we can feel it more. We can experience it more because we're becoming more like it. We have become addicted to our survival mind. What is an addiction? An addiction is a chemical dependency. Have you ever met anybody that you just said, well, he's just an adrenaline junkie? I have. Yeah. Just and adrenaline is just an internal chemical. Just like, you mean you can be addicted to internal chemistry? Sure. That's what an adrenaline junkie is. They get up and they want another rush. It's not something over the counter or anything. It's just they want that environment in them so that the body goes again, and they love it. The moment we begin to deny ourselves the substance we are addicted to, in this case, familiar thoughts and feelings associated with our emotional addiction, there are cravings, withdrawal pains, and a host of inner subvocalizations urging us not to change. That's a fair warning. If you're one of these people who have spent your life worrying, you ever meet somebody who said that I worry about not worrying, so I just create something to worry about because if I don't worry, then it won't get done. And I have. Um, they were addicted to the chemical complex of worry, and their whole thought pattern was wondering this and wondering that, and this list and that list, and is that there's not much peace in that mind. It's not a violent mind, but surely there's no peace in that mind. We keep all these negative stimulus around us so that we can produce stress response because that addiction reinforces the idea of who we are, only serving the realm of our own personal identity. That couple of people that I know that do that, they knew they were worriers. They called them that. Yeah, I'm a worry wart. And they seem to be proud of it because they took care of anything. Nothing missed their scope of worry. And that made sense to them.
Hey, Ray.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just kind of wanting to add a little bit to what you were saying. I think for me anyway, I just got to a point where I just got tired of feeling this. I'd wake up in the mornings feeling of dread and wonder, well, how can I really switch that off? And I believe through these meditations, I don't feel that way anymore.
Good.
So it's been so helpful just to have the tools that I needed because otherwise I just couldn't. It was hard to survive. Let's put it that way.
Let
I
me ask you a
know I
question,
wake up.
Deb.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. What is the mechanism in the meditation that has helped you switch? Have you nailed just when I do this, it helps me not do that anymore?
Um, that's a good question. It just seems like when your mind is focused on something different than maybe the what you're worried about. Because I find that I'm craving more of the meditating. Um, it seems like my brain waves are craving more of the meditations because I say to myself, if I'm feeling low and then I do a meditation, I feel so much better. But then I also release a lot of emotions through that meditation. I do a lot of crying, and that's supposed to help balance out your emotions.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I'm um,
Well, you said it
releasing those,
right. I was just wondering
yeah,
because what you just said is that you're breaking the habit of your old self
right.
by giving yourself a time of not being your old self, being present. It breaks that chain addiction of worry, this and this, that list that runs in people's minds, and you get a break from it, and your body goes, "Oh, this feels good."
Hmm.
And it's been a long time that body doesn't get that chemical, that feel good chemical, and it says, "Can I have some more of that?" And even though the old habits come in, you just keep giving it this new dose, and your body will start wanting it. It takes a while to get the
It,
body used to it.
it
And
does.
and pretty soon what you'll get, let me tell you where that's going, is that you're going to be good enough at that throughout the day you'll look around and say, I got 10 minutes. And you can turn that good feeling on in just 5 or 10 minutes. And now you get to have these little doses of this good feeling throughout the day. And pretty soon you'll be able to carry that around your day and you'll be challenged because life is challenging. I'm not trying to make make it sound like everything would be lovely. The world is the world. It's not the world, it's how you react to it that we're learning how to do. That
Yeah,
was
I've
good.
noticed that. Yeah, I've noticed that too. That in fact, the other day, I was driving down this one road, and this one woman tried to cut me off because she wanted to go around the semi because she needed to take a right, and after I, she didn't make it into this in front of me because there wasn't enough room. But then after we made our right turn, I just told myself, like, Deb, you're okay. Just relax. So I kind
Yeah,
of talked myself down from an event that might have taken me like 2 hours in the past,
exactly.
kind of calm myself down. So yeah, I mean, I think if we do things that you talk to ourselves, we can breathe.
We can breathe
We
and we
Yeah,
can be and we can be generous in the road. And if they want to get in front of you, slow down, let them get in front of you. Who cares? 5 minutes from
yeah,
now, it won't
exactly.
mean a hell of beans.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so
All right, great
I just,
conversation.
yeah, so I just use it as the driving thing is just a gift, a moment of a gift. Oh, I get to give this guy something. Okay, get him right in there. Okay, you have a good day. You know who's most blessed me doing that? She couldn't care less. I am. So I just blessed myself trying to bless her. You notice I made it a woman driver like that because the guys don't do that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because yeah, I do that quite a bit. I just I don't
Yeah.
because there's a lot of
Okay.
crazy drivers.
Yeah. So just keep yourself safe and bless them by giving them space.
Okay, sounds good.
Mr.
Thanks.
Mr. iPhone, thank you for your patience.
Yeah, hey Ray. So
How
I
you
had a quick.
doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. I had a quick question for you about the context of this energy body versus the kind of rodent brain. I know when I was at Joe Dispenza's week long, I did have some heightened experiences there, and I was aware at that point of the little monkey chattering in my brain, and it felt the equivalent of a 2-year-old talking. But I was curious about who was that perception frame of reference that was seeing the little monkey chatter, and then when I'm in my own meditations, there's so often where I feel like any of the thought activities are more in the realm of the monkey chatter. And I'm curious, when you have these experiences, when you become that energy body, is there still a association with a thought process, or does your frame of reference change and you're aware suddenly that there's the monkey part of my brain and now I'm in this other part of my brain, but this context, although it's still a neural network effect going on, it's associated more with the soul than with the ego.
You are touching it correctly, but you haven't quite reached the right conclusion. Okay, let me see if I can help you. What you did in your past, what your past is written in the book of life. It's not going to go away. That was one of the hard things I had to face with my dark past. I mean, I can't just meditate and make it go away. No, that's kind of written, right? There are places in this world that are hell on earth. That's twice I've said that tonight. Uh, but it's not the event, it's your relationship to the event. The more you diminish the value of it, the less this will remind you of it. Your body, this changes a lot faster than your body. Remember, you can learn something by studying a book in one evening, have it rote memory. But when you try to learn something of the body, your body takes repetition to learn it. I don't care if you're doing music, sports, martial arts, what it is. Your body lives and breathes by repetition. So you may have conquered and learned the lesson of your mind education, but your body is still dragging the past with it. And you've got to be careful not to put value on its rehearsal, or you tell this, no, this is important. I need to remember it. So as the body creates a rehearsal, oh, and how does that happen? The body doesn't have academic words. It creates emotional flushes, memories of environment. You've heard Dr. Joe say every thought and act has a chemical to it. That's going down. You know how it creates thoughts and acts going up? It releases that same soup of chemicals into the brain, and the brain goes, I know that flush of chemicals, and it makes it up. That's why Dr. Joe says half of the stuff you remember is not even true. It flushes the brain with these chemicals, and it creates a story that matches chemically the one the body gave it. And if you let it get excited, you just told your mind this is important and told the body to rehearse it and do it again. So, yes to almost everything you said. Yes, the body will keep playing it. Yes, it does chatter in your head. But no, you don't add value to it. You just go, yeah, I remember that. That my expression that I use a lot is, yeah, that was a bad day. Let me show, and then I create in my mind, I deliberately seek something good, loving that I'm doing. So that as this rushes in, a low energy tension, and I catch myself, yeah, that was a bad day. I don't deny it because those memories are from something that probably did happen, even if it was just your imagination. Your body thinks it happened. You with me? So you don't do it. Yeah, that was a bad. Yeah, that was just silliness. Let me tell you what I'm doing now. And I quickly try to rebuild that higher vibration in my mind. It tells my body this doesn't matter and this is what's important. And there's a shift that goes on.
I guess, thank you for that explanation. I guess part of what I was asking is specifically, does your reference frame from where you're having your thoughts from? For instance, we'll have this thought and we'll kind of be in a location in our brain where we're seeing something from. Uh, when I was having those experiences, I felt like my reference frame changed. And I'm wondering, does your reference frame change? And in fact, if you go deep, 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 do the thoughts actually collapse at some point? Or is it really my reference frame where I'm seeing the world from is the same, but I'm seeing positive imagery and feeling positive emotions as opposed to negative? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think it depends on the story and the details. Um, Partly for me to overcome what I overcome, I went through my present moments of terror into my past moments of terror. And once I got past these facades, I discovered that all of my insanity really started as a child. And I had to start doing child work. So
Okay.
that's why part of what I'm saying is that these things that come up might not have anything to do with your adult life, but your adult life is responding to something that went before it.
Okay. Super. Thank you.
So what you're trying to do is diminish it, diminish it, diminish it, and put away these cloaks that are simply your body chemistry trying to maintain its status quo. And you keep telling, yeah, that was a bad day. Let me tell you what I'm doing now. And change the priority in your head. It's like your head has a fixed quantity. It doesn't, but like it does. And so I'm not doing here, so I'm going to build this up. And anything you stress in your head, you tell your body to remember. And that's just the opposite of what we're trying to do here. That's why, like Deb, she's practicing happy meditations and it's touching her because she's interrupted the program of stress in her life. I think that was beautiful, Deb. You said it exactly correct. Um, and that's along the same line as what you're doing. And you're right. You can be in great meditation, being a Dr. Joe, and your busy mind, your monkey mind just starts, blah, 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 blah. And it's because the body chemistry goes, what about me? What about me? What about me? It's really a neurotic thing, I think, but that's the human experience. Most new meditators that start in our adult life have a history of stress that's used to being paid attention to. And now we're telling it to be quiet. And he goes, no, we don't go away that easy.
When you blacked out and had the angels come, do you remember if there was still a monkey brain component at that time, or it was just an absolute no
in
Ray
the
identity at that point?
in the midst of the event, I was all in. I mean, as far as I knew, I was dying on the floor and I was going to go to heaven. I mean, I had nothing left in this life. I was so totally all in. And when it finally quieted and I'm laying on the floor and my face is wet with tears and I'm just going, what was that? And it wasn't 5 minutes before my monkey mind started trying to deny it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Cool.
get this. I had just danced with angels and been embraced by the Divine Mother, and 5 minutes out of it, my physical survival mind was saying, what was that, right? You got nuts. You know, just And I had to stand there and go, what? Wait, shut up, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cool.
You know,
Thank you, Ray.
so academically, intellectually, I knew I had an experience of a lifetime. And yet it wasn't 5 minutes and I was already trying to talk myself down. I had to fight that habit. And the only way I understood it is like Dr. Joe says, the body mind. The body doesn't care what happens. It just wants to maintain its familiar chemical base. That's its job. That's its priority. So you just got to keep painting it down, just like a piano exercise. You just keep doing it until it's satisfied. Now, it happens just occasionally. If I let myself get entertained by some goofy movie that's more violent than I should pay attention to, then it will echo in me. It'll pull up stuff that I just like, oh shit, I thought I was done to that. Well, you just gave us permission to come play again. Oh
Yeah.
man, I know better than that. Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. So we really have two parts to this. We have the education, the mind, and the consciousness. And then we got this frustrating body mind that learns by repetition. That is the human experience. The selfish self on page 105. Thank you. That was a good conversation. This is really good tonight, the conversations. They're really appropriate for tonight, too. As you can see, what we identify as our self exists within the context of our collective emotional association with our thoughts and feelings and problems, and all those elements of the big three. Is it any wonder that people find it so hard to go within and leave this self-produced reality behind? How would we know who we are if it weren't for our environment, our bodies, and time? That's why we are so dependent on the external world. Remember, we talked about who we are? We're in the habit of saying who we are based on our survival. You know, it wasn't too long ago. You asked me, who are you, Ray? And I'd give you the job I do, the work I do, my past experiences in the military. That's who I am. And guess what? That limited everything I received in life. Because you can only receive to the level of who you are worthy to receive. Man, that was a painful one for me. I mean, for a lot of guys, he says, okay, quit defining yourself by your job. Then you go, then who am I? That's the point. I'm a teacher. Okay, step out of that teacher role. Now, who are you? I don't know. I'm just a guy. I'm nobody. That's the point. Find out what you are outside of this life experience. Not who you are, what you are. In fact, the more we define reality through our senses, the more this reality becomes our law. My law says I die of cancer because I violated so much law. And I had to figure out how to step out of that judgment. To forget about the people we know, the problems we have, the things we own, and the places we go. To lose track of time, to go beyond the body and its needs to feed its habituations, to give up the high from the emotional familiar, to detach from trying to predict the future, to lay down the selfish ego, to think or dream greater than how we feel and crave the unknown. This is the beginning of freedom. That last statement, to think or dream greater than how we feel and crave the unknown. This is the beginning of freedom from our present lives. Can you define something outside the circle of your present life? Let me tell you what that's hinting at. Can you define a desire, a heart's call, not an ambition of a job, not getting a promotion or living in a bigger house or making more money, a heart's call that can direct you like a compass. You can still have your same job. You can still pay your bills in the same way, you know, but a heart's call is something different. A heart's call is not something you achieve. It's like a compass that points you true north. To think or dream greater than how you feel and live. That's your heart's call. The word is desire. From desire, as it settles in you and as it is defined, you get to find your purpose. Purpose is something you never achieve. It's like your true north of your life. It is a point. What's your purpose in life? Goals are 1,000 things you do on the path, on the journey of your purpose to fulfill your heart's desire. So you'll have 1,000 goals that you'll fail at until you got it. Okay, I got that goal. Then you go to the next and you'll stumble with it until you master it. And then you go to the next. That's a goal. Purpose is your compass. Why do you get up? Why do you do what you do? You get up, pay your bills. Why? No, behind the curtain to pay the bill. Why? Because your purpose is to have a family that's fulfilled and that your heart rejoices at coming home and seeing your loving wife and happy kids. And you will go to no end to fulfill that purpose. But there's a purpose, there may be a purpose beyond that purpose. What's your life compass? If our thoughts can make us sick, might also make us well. Yeah, we talked about that. And finally, let's say he began thinking and feeling in new ways in such a degree that he invented a new ideal of himself related to new potentiality, personality. As he moved into a new state of being, he might he signal his genes in beneficial ways. We talked about the epigenetics of it. See, this is survival versus creation. The first part of this chapter, we talked a lot about how survival just messes our life up. And that of itself, it's not a bad thing. That's how we get through this very competitive, harsh reality that is our society. And other societies are worse and some societies are better. Who cares? But that is where we find ourselves. On page 108 and 109, you talked about a guy with cancer. I put a question mark, cancer, question mark, me. So this the story sounds like me in this book. Is like, it's really weird to read Dr. Joe's books and then to get a story that you go, God, I could have wrote that testimony just like that. A little detail difference, but this is me. So if you ever wonder if you're unique and all by yourself, just read these books. You'll see people giving their testimony that sound just almost like your story. See, there's really very little difference between us. No, the details are different. Our societies, our wealth, our family, our wacky brothers and sisters that drive us crazy, and all that, all the details are different, but we're just same people. So how do you change? How did he change? Over in 109. The first 5 mornings, Bill contemplated how he thought when he felt resentment. Can you do a little self-awareness? And when it gets in you, those monkey minds that pass that something triggers and you just feel yourself punch and you go, what am I bugged at? You just nothing even happened, but something got in your head. Next, he paid attention to his previously unconscious behavior and actions. He decided to halt any thoughts, behaviors, or emotions that was involved unloving toward himself. Love yourself first, most, and always. And so one of the first things he did to help break the habit of his cancer was stop things that was unloving to himself. Don't worry about being loving to somebody else. If you're not loving yourself, you're not being honest about loving somebody else. And the next week, Bill became so uplifted that he thought about the new self he wanted to be and how he would respond to the people around him. Once you learn how to love yourself and you're that fountain, now you understand how to respond to someone else in a loving way. Until then, you're fighting for your own survival. There's nothing wrong with fighting survival. You hear me say that all the time. But that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to step out of the survival mind and learn to love ourselves. By firing his brain in new ways, Bill changed biologically and chemically from his previous self. I mean, that guy's story is my story. It's a human story. Page 110. After this, we'll see if we got some more conversation. At the end of the previous chapter, I briefly described what it is to live in a creative mind. Those are the moments of being fully engaged and in flow so that the environment, body, and time all seem to immaterialize and don't invade our conscious thoughts. I know some runners. I was a time when I used to jog a little bit, and there's a lake here in Dallas, and I'd run back and forth. It was about a 8 mile stretch, and after doing it for a while, I found that I would just check out, and it felt, the expression I used is I was just riding the run. I just look around and I'm going down the trail. I've been down the trail a few times by then, and so I knew what the trail was. I just and I was like riding a coaster and just riding the run. And when I was done, I was only halfway as exhausted as I was before. I moved into flow and didn't understand it at that time. Living in creation is living as a nobody. In that moment, I did not have a body. I was an experience riding my run. Really weird. I wish I understood this more at the time I was doing it. Ever notice that when you're truly in the midst of creating anything, you forget about yourself? We got any artists here? People who get into art and the world goes away as they focus on creating the image that they want? Yeah. You are no longer a somebody who associates your identity with certain things you own, particular people you know. You could say that when you are in a creative state, you forget about the habit of being you. You're just engaged, you're tuned in, you're tuned out of the busyness of survival mind, and you're engaged in creating something. Yeah. We cannot enter as a somebody. You must do so as a nobody. To move truly in to your eighth center, this is the state that you're doing. What's important about this little section is that it's telling you this thing we're trying to do is as human as any meathead athlete can do. You ever look at some of these big muscle-bound guys, these athletes, you just call them meatheads? Well, they're doing something you can't do. So think about that before you start poking them in your mind. Yeah, I wish I could do what they did. I wish I could just get involved in something and move into flow and tune out of my stress and just do my skill. Kind of reshapes the thought a little bit, doesn't it? You cannot enter as a somebody. You must do so as a nobody. You have to leave the self-centered ego at the door. Thus, here is the grand hint. To change any aspect of life, you must transcend it and detach from your present familiar reality. You must. When he says must, it's you can pretty well stamp this down on your. You must leave behind the big three in order to control the big three. That's why I said when you go to the 8th center, you go with empty hands. You've released and surrendered all of it. And that's why the storyline in my head, I go before the throne as a pauper. I bring nothing of this life with me. And when I succeed in doing that, I am received as a prince. And that's true for all of you. That's what this part is about.
Ray?
Yes, there you are. Oh,
There.
thank you.
Yeah, this is Sharon. And I had kind of a awareness this morning as I'm doing more of this meditation. My stress, major stress, has always been trying to get everything done in the time that I have. And I think the story I've told myself is I don't have enough time to do it all. And, I've tried productivity and to-do lists and budgeting my time. Anyway, a lot of stuff, and nothing really has worked. But I've noticed for some reason, and I thought it was disconnected, but now I'm beginning to see the connection, is that since I've been meditating, I don't seem to have this anxiety or stress about getting everything done. And this morning I was talking with someone and they said, they had the same thing, but they, instead of looking at, they have 24 hours and mapping out what they're going to do every 24 hours, whatever, they look at their day and they don't even put like hours on it. They look at it as a glass filled with, water, let's say. And that represents energy, feeling good. And that as the day goes on, they attempt to use as little of their energy to do things. So they don't want to do things that are like energy hogs, that are energy vampires, that take a lot of energy with very little return. And they've started doing things even that add to that glass. So instead of looking at their day and time and hours, they look at it as energy expended or energy received.
I like that.
I did too. It was a very interesting concept. I really couldn't get my head around it at all when I first heard it, but it aligns really well here with being in the flow, with doing energy creation as opposed to energy depletion. Now, granted, at this stage of my life, learning all of this, I can't, so far I haven't been able to just switch into it. But for example, I went to church this morning. I got held up there. It was okay. I came home. My to-do list was way too long before this class was. And instead of trying to fit everything in down to the minute, I said, which one of those things can I do that's going to be energy giving, like that's going to raise my energy level? And it turned out to be cooking for the week. And normally that takes me a good 2 hours. So I just thought, great, I've got 3 hours or so, I'll be okay. And then we'll figure out, maybe I'll, sit down and have lunch. Well, I started doing the cooking. I finished in like a little over an hour. And I think honestly, because as I was like you were in the flow, I wasn't so focused of looking at the clock. Oh my gosh, I only have an hour left. I only have 45 minutes left. I'm not done. Instead of all that chatter, I was just doing it and looking at it as giving me energy. And it just happened so quickly. So I just wanted to share that.
Yes. That's the goal. I mean, that represents what we all try to do with this work, is to be present. In the third book, Becoming Supernatural, I asked people, what do they think is the most important chapter in the book? Some of them say the pineal gland. They think that's this, and very seldom do I get anybody to say the one that I think is the most important. And they said, so Ray, what do you think? It's the present moment. If you don't know the content and understand being present moment, none of the other stuff works. It's just marketing. And that's what you just discussed. You are finding your present moment to do something like cooking. And you found peace, you found satisfaction, and the work flowed. Yeah, that's it. That is the foundation of the work. Very good. Yeah, and everybody's expression of it is unique to their life. I'm developing a flow in writing, and it's got, my purpose is dragging me in that direction. My words are just like bring tears to my eyes. I can't believe I write the story and I just cry all through the story. It just moves me so deeply. I mean, other people, they go, I'm sitting there crying at my own words because of the flow that I put into it.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Because as I've done meditation, I tend to have tears also, but they're not tears like pain or sadness, and it's not like I boo-hoo or screw my face up. It's like I'm standing there reading something, and then I feel the tears going down the side of my face, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And first I thought, oh, I just have, like watery eyes. So I got up and got a tissue and dotted them. But then it kept happening, and I was like, this is not watery eyes. This is weird.
Yes.
Is
that pretty well describes me.
okay.
And if I was to say what is the root of it, I would have to go all the way back to my childhood. That is the root of it, is that in me doing that, something in me is touching that child that so needed to be touched and didn't. And now I'm in the flow. And that child is just loving it to the point of tears.
But it's weird too, because I'm trying to think like, what did I just read or say or do or hear that caused this tear?
You're looking in the wrong place. It's not what you did in your head, it's what you did in your heart. What did your heart just remember? What was remember, we just got through saying the body's got long memory. What did your heart body memory just walk through that moved that?
That's the part I don't know.
That's the part where it's at. Somewhere in your heart, you're recalling something. And it's, like you said, it's not a painful tears. There's a love spot that hungered somewhere and is being gracefully filled. Gracefully, tenderly, lovingly filled.
And it feels soothing after, like healed.
Yes.
But I don't know what it was that was healed.
You don't need to know. You just need to receive it.
Okay.
Knowing comes later with experience and a little bit more depth and sensitivity. Right now, it's just clear that it's a gift. Just receive it. There's that little place in your heart is being loved, and your body's responding to it. I'm talking about me as much as I'm talking about you.
Thank you.
Yeah, my first 2 years, I'd sit here and just every other time I sat to meditate, I wasn't boo-hooing as such, but the tears would flow because that inner part of me was receiving a love that God knows I just never touched that in my life.
Yeah, it happens like at least daily. Anytime I not anytime I meditate, but at least every other time I meditate.
Yeah.
It's weird to me.
It was. You think it's weird to you? Here I'm an old man sitting in the chair all by myself, and I got tears rolling down my face. Now that's weird.
Okay.
I'm Mr. Tough Guy. And it's just I'm sitting in the chair, just loving the energy in me, and tears roll down my cheek. And it's just like, no, that was weird. But I just let it happen because when it was over, something in me said, "You're touching something that hadn't been touched in a very long time." And so slowly now I still get a little bit now and then, but I don't get it as much now because that's a very familiar place in me now. But those first couple of years, it was brand new. And forgiving myself for all the darkness of my life. Oh my goodness, I cried over that a lot. The forgiveness was the one I actually boo-hooed over. It was like, oh, what am I supposed to do with this? I was such a miserable bum. I hurt so many people, including me. Just like, what a mess. But I just forgave. The goal I knew early was to get empty hands. Forgiveness and release. And I had a whole bunch of different stories I'd tell myself. I'd go everything from just releasing to getting into the rebel of life and letting it wash away the sticks and all, to burning messages, not literally. Well, a couple of times I literally did, but sitting in a campfire in my mind and burning my past life. I did all kind of stuff trying to get my hands to let go. The goal is to go before the 8th as a pauper. That's my word. Empty hands.
Okay, thank you.
Because you can't bring this with you. No body, no place, no time. And when you do it fully, deeply, you'll be received as royalty and inherit the infinite potential. It'll be yours for the calling.
Thanks.
Thank you. That was a sensitive conversation. The conversations tonight have been really sensitive. iPhone, your hand is still up. Would you like to call something else?
Yeah, just a real quick clarification. I'm not familiar with this pauper word. What is this pauper? You go before as a pauper.
Pauper. A poor person. Kings and paupers.
Got it. Okay.
The beggars on the street of London were called paupers.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
Now we just call them homeless. You go before the king with nothing. You have no past. You have no environment. You have no time. You are empty now. And when you can achieve that, full surrender is a word that we haven't got into yet. When you retrieve that full surrender, and it is just you, the consciousness, you have achieved something amazing. And in doing that, you're able to plug in to that statement we had just a couple pages back that it says, who are we? We are connected to the quantum field of infinite intelligence. Who are we, or what are we? We are a point of expression of that infinite intelligence. That is what we are. And that is all that's left when we do truly surrender. And when you get there, it is an experience of a lifetime. You will get up off the floor going, wow, what was that? because your self-identity changed. Yeah, it's a life-changing moment to have that experience, because you will get up off the floor that time. You notice I keep referring to floor because you can't stay in the chair going, ah. Yeah. You get up off the floor going, what was that? And what do I call myself now? You know, you don't call yourself what you were, that's for sure, because it's just not true, because that old body just would not be blessed by the divine. For the sake of our understanding, the frontal lobe performs three essential functions. Okay, we're going to get back to some of the reasons why this is so hard. And that what we think is our enemy might not be as much of an enemy as we thought it was. Let me say that better. As much of an enemy as I thought it was in the beginning of my studies. Okay. First step of the frontal lobe is metacognition, becoming self-aware to inhabit unwanted states of mind and body. We talked a little earlier about, I think it was Deb, that she was learning who she was. And I congratulated her. Says that's an important step, because until you know you, it's really hard to let go of it, because it's a shadow in your mind. And that your mind creates all kind of illusions protecting the part that really hurts. So most of the stuff that you deal with on the surface is just illusions created by the body to cover the inner pain. Because we have metacognitive abilities, the power to observe our own thoughts and self can decide how we no longer want to be. Once we become self-aware and name it, we can start saying, I don't do that anymore. And your body says, watch me, but you just keep saying, I don't do that anymore. I don't do that. This is what I'm doing. You just keep replacing it. So if you truly want a new personal reality, start observing all aspects of your present personality. You got to become self-aware to break those habits. Don't embarrass yourself. I will never tell you to go kowtow to somebody and ask for forgiveness. No, I will actually suggest you never do that. It's none of their business and they couldn't care less. The forgiveness happens in you, to you, for you. You are the one you need to forgive. But he did it. I don't care. You're the one holding on to it. Stop that. That's what you need to forgive until you let go of it. The world is a dangerous place. It always has been, always will. People are on a spectrum of revealing. Don't look for perfection. So as you develop the skill of becoming familiar with all your aspects of your old self, you will ultimately become more conscious. Your goal here is to unlearn who you used to be. Your goal here is to quit telling yourself, I'm an angry Army veteran. Stop that, Ray. I am no longer an angry Army veteran. I'm a goofy meditator that tells some of the craziest stories you ever heard in your life. And it just tickles me pink to see people smile at my stories. Second thing about the frontal brain, creating a new mind to think about new ways of being. This is a creative center, and it can put together miscellaneous points of learning and create something new and go, that's the journey I want to take. I mentioned before about purpose and goals. This is what helps you set your goals. How do I get to my purpose? This will start taking pieces of your life and putting them together into a plan. So this thing that we try to shut up for our meditation is a very valuable tool along the journey. When we set aside items and private space to think about new ways of being, that is when the frontal lobe engages in creation. When you're starting to figure, how do I make this work? You start putting together your learning, and that's when you use your frontal lobe. To initiate the state of creation is always good to move into a state of wonder. WONDER. Wonder is a beautiful state. It's similar to flow, but maybe not as deep because it allows for an input of new information. I wonder what would that look like? You see artists do it often because they'll sit in front of blank canvas and just kind of go, as they wonder and they trying to mix patterns and colors. I wonder if I put the light here. Maybe if I move the light a little bit higher. If I put the morning sun just a little bit lower, and they do all this sadness and they're just wondering. That's all frontal lobe work. Whether you want to be wealthy or a better parent or a great wizard, for that matter, it might not be a bad idea to fill your brain with knowledge. You got to get new knowledge. If you depend on the same knowledge you had yesterday, you're going to make the same choices today. It only makes sense. You just got the menu of what you know, and you selected the best you could from what you know, and you end up here. And you're saying you're trying to break a habit. You got to get new knowledge. New knowledge, stage right, enters Dr. Joe Dispenza. That's about as new a knowledge of anything I've ever come with in my life. And I've studied ancient stuff, Kabbalah. I mean, just Vedic chakras. I've got a Reiki ticket on my wall. Just all that stuff. And I put it all away because it didn't tell me how to heal my heart. I'm here to help you realize that's where you start. Everything else follows. But you need new knowledge. That's the doorway. And then this cortex will start putting pieces together. And then your priority is healing your heart. And that heart has blankets of illusions saying it's this, he did it, there was over there, this is the excuse. Forget it. You want empty hands. The goal is to let go of everything until you get to that child and that child is healed. This is a big chapter. Page 115. The third point, making thoughts more real than anything else. Your body doesn't know what the difference is when you're fully engaged in a thought. It will respond the same way as when the real event happens. This is both good and destructive. It's destructive when you rehearse a tragedy 1,000 times over your life, and your body chemistry becomes the same chemistry as the day of that tragedy until you become fully immersed in addicted and habit formed into that tragic chemical flood. The same thing works to the good for you. Once you learn how to rehearse your future self, that purpose, and you start doing this wonder, says, oh, that's my purpose. What would it be like? And you start rehearsing that, getting that new vibration in you, releasing a new flood of chemicals, having your DNAs release new proteins. To me, that's the coolest thing in the world. Realize I can tell my DNA to produce different proteins than they've been producing all my life. It's like, are you kidding me? Is that real? Yeah, that's real science. Same DNA. I mean, you're not going to come out with horns and weird stuff and wings on your back. I always thought wings on my back would have been cool, but that was my younger self. But it changes proteins. You know, that's so cool. With a little neural activity, we could say that there is no mind to process sensory input, no mind to activate movement, and no mind to associate activities with time. And you have nobody, we have no thing. We are, in that moment, pure consciousness. Remember, we go back here, who are we? We are a point of expression of eternal consciousness. When it's all left, here it is right here. We are just points of the eternal consciousness. That is what you are. And Dr. Joe's trying to help you discover that for yourself. You have been told you are a point of evolved mud, and the universe itself is a point of evolved nothingness. And so out of nothingness you are. So as far as modern evolutionary science, we are of no value. I assure you, you have an experience like what I have, and you will know that you are a divine expression with infinite beauty and infinite value. You've just been educated out of it. When you are in creation mode, the frontal lobe is in control. It becomes so engaged that your thoughts become your reality and your experience. Whatever you're thinking about in those moments is all there is for the frontal lobe to process. It took me a few rereadings of that for me to catch the contradiction. I go, what do you mean Dr. Joe contradicted himself? Well, Dr. Joe may not have contradicted himself, but I had a contradiction in my head, which really is just a misunderstanding. Remember when you go into meditation and the whole idea is to move back here and shut off the mind and move into space and awareness. And yet, let's go back to the sentence. When you're in creation mode, the frontal lobe is in control. It becomes so engaged that your thoughts become your reality and your experience. Whatever you're thinking about in that moment is all there is for the frontal lobe to process. When you go into creation mode, this is the engine. So what's the contrast? What's the contradiction? Well, because there's two parts to this story, and I was slow to learn it. So I thought I'd just give you a leg up because you're not going to get it until you start experiencing it. But here's the start. There are 2 points here. There is the consciousness point where you are the receiver, and there is the frontal lobe point where you are the generator. Neither one of them are wrong, so don't let yourself shake your finger at anything. They are how you're made. It's that contrast between the quantum field. You are both the wave and the particle. You are both. The wave is when you receive from the divine light. You receive that energy frequency and you express it. You are the particle. You are the source of creation for your creation. And that creation is coming from the energy in here. Your purpose drives an energy into you. You set a goal, and that goal becomes your creation. Or you are an artist sitting before the canvas, and this image flows into your mind. But an artist, every artist I've ever seen, has some very specialized skills, a great deal of knowledge in every little touch of their brush. First comes knowledge and practice and skills until you can reach that flow state. Now you are able to create from your mind and create from the kingdom. This is not an easy pill that you can take and be blessed. This is the reality of life. This is the human experience. You can't sit on a pillow and go home and think you can become a master meditator. There's a great deal of understanding that goes into it to go there. And that's why Dr. Joe wrote this rather complex set of books. Because the world is screaming at us 24/7 about who they say you are. And Dr. Joe is whispering to you saying, what if you were something different? Test it. Those neural networks our survival thinking had wired are turned off, and personality that was addicted to continuality signaling the body to produce stress hormones is gone. That's the goal. That you manage to step out of the programs that are running 24/7 survival mind and do something different in your head. Takes practice, but I'm telling you, to have stories in your head like what I got, it's so worth it. It's like, God, I wish I wasn't such a hard head. But so that hard head is part of my survival, I guess. In short, the emotional self that lived in the survival mode is no longer functioning. The moment that happens, our former identity, the state of being bound by survival-based thinking and feeling, is no more. We talked a little bit a while ago about, you ask most guys, who are you? And they tell you the job they do. Women too. They say, I'm a teacher. I'm this. I'm the principal. But who are you? Well, that's who I am. That's my job. My whole identity is based on the work I do. Step out of that, and then who are you? Well, I'm nobody. I'm trying to help you find who and what that nobody is when you step out of that survival work. I'm not trying to say quit your job. Now, pay your bill. Do what it takes. You can have this as well. So where does the energy go that once had the emotional self? That's a good question. That's on page 117. It goes back into yourself, your energy being self, and is converted into life force. Remember my story about my orange security guys out here, that when I go into loving meditation, I bring my soldiers home and they help me heal. I bring them into my heart and they change jobs. I convert them. That energy, I have images in my mind where these orange jackets are take off their security vest and just kind of go to work tending my garden of life. That is how I tell myself symbolic stories. We are now quantum observers of a new destiny, and that release heals the body and frees the mind. This is not mysticism. This is just reality. This is human. You know, I used to think that these mystics were some kind of superhuman beings. No, they just figured out something that was so human. They were just lousy teachers compared to Dr. Joe. They taught mysticism and religion and all this limited stuff. I'm telling you, there's not a one of you that can't get some limit of success in this. Why? Because you're just a human. That's my requirement. That's Dr. Joe's, that's life's requirement. You've got what it takes. How bad do you want it? There, I said it. I've been not saying that all night. How bad do you want it? Do you want it enough to do the work, to gain the knowledge, to make the choices, to change your heart, to release the new DNA proteins so that you change your life? To anticipate or analyze when, where, and how the event will occur will only cause you to return to your old identity. As you linger in this creative state where you are no longer your identity, the nerve cells that once fired together to form that old self are no longer wiring together. That's when the old personality is getting biologically dismantled. I love that. You're not just changing a mental attitude, you are biologically rewiring the nerve to become that new self. Wow, that's so cool to me. You are changing what the DNA does and biologically rewiring the nerves and rebuilding networks in your brain. You change your mind. You ever heard the expression change your mind? Did you know that you literally do that when you get something really profound and new? You literally rewire parts of your brain. You really do change your mind. I didn't know that. I thought it was just some lame expression. I started reading this like, are you kidding me? I think that's cool as beans. Those feelings connected to that identity, which condition the body to the same mind, are no longer signaling those genes in the same way. And the more you overcome your ego, the more the physical evidence of the old personality has changed. The old you is gone. Holy cow, I can't even begin to express how different I am. That old guy that I used to be is long gone and just a shadow in my memory. That is not a figure of speech. That is a reality. That old you will dramatically fade in the background of your mind. We're getting very close to the end. Any last comments before I read this last little bit? Anybody here got an old you that you're looking forward to have gone? How's that for a loaded question? If you don't say yes, you're a liar. We all have it. Well, that wasn't very nice of your teacher to say. You're all my students are a bunch of liars. We all have that, but who's got the audacity to talk about it? Nobody? Oh man, I thought that was going to be really good. On page 119, there's a chart. It says two states of the mind and body, survival and creation. Stress compared to homeostasis. Contraction over expansion. Catabolism, anabolic, that's inner and outer. Dis-ease, health. These are all, and I'm here to testify that he is not exaggerating in this list. I have experienced all of this. Not because I go to some expensive counselor or anything. I was healed before I went to my first conference. I did this at home, dedicating myself to learning and doing the meditation. It's there for you. It's not about going to conferences are great. Don't get me wrong. I love them. I'm planning on going to the one in Dallas here in just a couple months. But it kind of resets my center because it's just one week of being immersed in Dr. Joe's work is just mind altering. But that's not a requirement. I got my big healing sitting in this chair with no friends, no community, nothing, just a book and just how bad you want it. Oh man, I was ready to take on that shadow personally. You take me and I'll bring hell into hell. You can't have me. I'm going to wreck the gates. I used to say all kind of crazy stuff. And, just because I wanted it so bad, I didn't know what to do with it. And I had no one to express with. That's probably somehow worked for me because of who I am. Nobody's going to talk to me. Okay. I'll read the last paragraph. We covered a lot of possibilities. The concept that your subjective mind can affect your objective world, your potential to change your brain and body by becoming greater than your environment, your body and time, and the prospect that you can move out of the reactive, stressful mode of living in survival as though you were only the outer world is real and enter into the inner world of the Creator. It is my hope that you can now view these possibilities as a possible reality. Have you learned enough to admit to the possibility of achieving this? Okay, I'm not saying you think you can walk on water. I don't. But can you see the possibility of breaking the habit of being yourself now? Do you see the pathway there? That's the question. Once you see the possibility, you can get the courage to choose to work. Until you don't, if you don't see the possibility, if you just read the book and says, I can't do that, then first of all, I didn't do my job. And second of all, you're not going to spend the effort and time to put your heart into it. Well, I can't do it anyway. I'm not worthy of this. I'm not special. I'm not some guru who can do magical meditations. That's why I keep saying, folks, this is a human thing. I don't care if you're a wacky Army veteran. If you just begin and do it regularly, like a drill on a piano, just do it till your body learns this new thing. You will change. Dr. Joe gives the promise. You do the work, you get the promise. I am willing to testify to that. Anybody else have something to say to me? Oh, Nancy's got her hand up. Hello, Nancy.
Hi there. Thank you. I just got your book as well.
Oh, good.
I look forward. I just read the first day. And thanks. Now anyway, I look forward to it very much. So I had a question. I'm following along the chapters. I'm really trying because I really want this too. So I'm doing the best I can. I'm not pressuring myself too much, but I'm taking it like a college course or something. So I'm enjoying it though so much because I love to meditate and I do get to a pretty high state pretty quickly and I love it. But my question is, so each day I'm studying the chapter that week, but each morning and each evening, should I be doing a Dr. Joe meditation that I feel attracted to? Because there's many on YouTube that's like, start your morning with this and end your evening with this. Or do you really, really recommend those energy center ones to be doing daily?
What I do now, because I've got pretty well familiarity with the energy centers, is I do an energy center one for the morning. And then for the evening, I do something gentle and easy. Sometimes there's a set that he has at work. It's called the daily meditations. There's a half an hour one for the morning and half one in the evening. The morning one is not a particular, I mean, it's nice. And sometimes when I don't want to put in an hour, I'll do that. But the evening half of that is beautiful meditation before you go to bed. If I do something like the blessing of the energy centers before I go to bed, I lay in bed with my eyes wide open because my head is cooking. That is not the one for me to go to bed by. And I'll lay there for a half an hour trying to relax what I just did in my head.
Right. There's definitely ones for sleep.
And I have to rehearse the energy centers and rehearse them so I can let go of what I just experienced. But that one, the daily meditations, it has two in it, morning and evening.
Mm-hmm.
I love the evening one. I do it a lot.
Oh, okay. And I've found some on YouTube. And there's some that are hours long as you're going to sleep.
Oh, sure.
During the
but
night.
That kind of defeats the purpose. You're getting ready for bed and you're going to sit and do a meditation for an hour. There's a little contradiction in there for me.
Oh,
so I like this one because it's only like 30 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, what I mean is they're more like you fall asleep to it on purpose and you're kind of hearing it subconsciously or something like that. But anyway, thank you. Because I didn't realize the difference in the morning and evening. I should really focus. And it's not just something that I enjoy doing that is continually growing towards the, okay, thanks.
Remember, part of the lesson is to get up from your morning meditation and to see how long you can carry this energy into your day. And can you learn it enough to have moments in your day that you can call it up?
Yeah.
The practice, because it's not the practice of the work, it's the practice of what you achieve in you that you can rehearse during the day. You sit in the living room, you got 5 minutes to sit and do nothing. Can you take a breath and feel the heart?
Yeah.
I got a story for you guys. I had a little operation procedure. I'm still making a little bit of skin cancer, nothing serious. And they had to cut a little squamish out of my back. I've been making skin cancer on and off for 16 years. It's just like, cut me again. Go ahead. It's just, I must have been a bad boy because my body's still making skin. My serous melanoma is gone. That's never come back.
Yeah.
But the light stuff still shows up. But anyway, so after the surgery, they took my blood pressure and it was 168 over 90 or something. And she started to say, no, wait. Says what? said, give me just a couple more minutes and I can make it my normal number.
Yeah.
And she looked at me like, I said, yeah, I can do this. Go do some paperwork, talk to me, do anything. Just give me a few minutes. And I put in my mind the number I want. And I went down, inhale, hold, exhale, hold, bring in my energy sound. In the time it took her to do a little bit of paperwork and turn around and said, oh, I can't just keep waiting. It was 135. I said, okay, that's pretty close to my normal. And she looked at me like it dropped 30 points.
Yeah, I believe it.
In under 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Now,
no, I use stuff like that sometimes. I'm not that good at it yet, but I definitely believe it. And
they make a religion out of your blood pressure numbers.
Yeah. We're trained in so many areas to think certain ways. It's pretty cool to break it up a little. But thanks, it's a good story.
Yeah, she just looked at me like, oh, that was pretty good. I said, yeah. That's what I do.
I was wondering because I was thinking, God, he must just. I mean, are we all going to just live forever? I was thinking I'm going to come do, Maha Samadhi, what that means. I thought I've been telling myself I'm going to be healthy till 2044, and then reevaluate or do Maha Samadhi. And I don't know. There's things you can tell yourself. I don't know. I'm just beginning to understand the power of what you've achieved and things like that.
I'm finding that some injuries that I took 50 years ago are showing themselves now.
Yeah, they're deep, huh?
Yeah. And it's like I had a injury to my neck, and all my life has never bothered me. And here I am in my mid-70s, and I'm noticing some numbing in my shoulders. And they gave me a CT scan. The guy goes, "Yeah, you got." So I know it's been crooked. It's been crooked all my life, but it's never given a problem. Well, it's giving you a problem now.
It's correcting itself, possibly. It's maybe you're becoming, because we become bodies of light eventually.
Yeah.
Right.
So 50 years ago, I had an accident, kinked my neck, and here I am, 76 years old, and now it's causing me shoulder problems, arm problems.
Oh.
It's like, what kind of justice is this? I've conquered so much. Now I've got to figure out how to straighten my kinked up neck.
You'll figure it out.
I've never worked on that one.
Yeah. Well, thank you for everything in all your classes. I really do appreciate it so much.
You're very welcome. I thank you for giving me an excuse and motivation to study. Just you guys give me a reason to master this work. Just the number one student in a class is the teacher. And by you showing up, you give me the heart for me to push myself just one more step. And I really sincerely mean that. Every teacher who's ever taught anything knows what I'm talking about. The teacher is the best student in the classroom. And I just so thank you for it, for that's what you give to me, is you receive my love messages. Next week, we talk about chapter 6, my number one life-changing chapter. Maybe you'll see what I saw in it. Okay. Good night, all. It's a joy to talk to you guys, and I'm so glad we had this ending conversation. This was loving.
Thank you. Many blessings. Be blessed.
You too, Anne-Marie. It's nice seeing you again. Bye-bye, Olga. Bye-bye, everybody else. Michelle and Bautan and Zing and Bob Zimberg, and see you later, guys.